The Lord said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites, anyone, whether an Israelite or an alien residing in Israel, who gives any of his offspring to Molech, shall be put to death. Let his fellow citizens stone him. I myself will turn against such a man and cut him off from the body of his people, for in giving his offspring to Molech, he has defiled my sanctuary and profaned my holy name. Even if his fellow citizens connive at such a man's crime of giving his offspring to Molech and fail to put him to death, I myself will set my face against that man and his family, and will cut off from their people both him and all who join him in his wanton worship of Molech. Should anyone turn to mediums and fortune tellers and follow their wanton ways, I will turn against such a one and cut him off from his people. Sanctify yourselves, then, and be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. Be careful, therefore, to observe what I, the Lord, who make you holy, have prescribed. Anyone who curses his father or mother shall be put to death. Since he has cursed his father or mother, he has forfeited his life. If a man commits adultery with his neighbor's wife, both the adulterer and the adulteress shall be put to death. If a man disgraces his father by lying with his father's wife, both the man and his stepmother shall be put to death. They have forfeited their lives. If a man lies with his daughter-in-law, both of them shall be put to death, since they have committed an abhorrent deed, they have forfeited their lives. If a man lies with a male as with a woman, both of them shall be put to death, for their abominable deed, they have forfeited their lives. If a man marries a woman and her mother also, the man and the two women as well shall be burned to death for their shameful conduct, so that such shamefulness may not be found among you. If a man has carnal relations with an animal, the man shall be put to death, and the animal shall be slain. If a woman goes up to any animal to mate with it, the woman and the animal shall be slain. Let them both to put to death, their lives are forfeit. If a man consummates marriage with his sister or his half-sister, they shall be publicly cut off from their people for this shameful deed. The man shall pay the penalty of having had intercourse with his own sister. If a man lies in sexual intercourse with a woman during her menstrual period, both of them shall be cut off from their people, because they have laid bare the flowing fountain of her blood. You shall not have intercourse with your mother's sister or your father's sister. Whoever does so shall pay the penalty of incest. If a man disgraces his uncle by having intercourse with his uncle's wife, the man and his aunt shall pay the penalty by dying childless. If a man marries his brother's wife and thus disgraces his brother, they shall be childless because of this incest. Be careful to observe all my statutes and all my decrees, otherwise the land where I am bringing you to dwell will vomit you out. Do not conform, therefore, to the customs of the nations whom I am driving out of your way, because all these things that they have done have filled me with disgust for them. But to you I have said, their land shall be your possession, a land flowing with milk and honey. I am giving it to you as your own. I, the Lord, your God, who have set you apart from the other nations. You too must set apart then the clean animals from the unclean and the clean birds from the unclean, so that you may not be contaminated with the uncleanness of any beast or bird or of any swarming creature in the land that I have set apart for you. To me, therefore, you shall be sacred, for I, the Lord, am sacred, I who have set you apart from the other nations to be my own. A man or a woman who acts as a medium or fortune teller shall be put to death by stoning. They have no one but themselves to blame for their death. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to Aaron's sons, the priests, and tell them, none of you shall make himself unclean for any dead person among his people, except for his nearest relatives, his mother or father, his son or daughter, his brother or his maiden sister, who is of his own family, while she remains unmarried. For this he may make himself unclean. But for a sister who has married out of his family, he shall not make himself unclean. This would be a profanation. The priest shall not make bare the crown of the head, nor shave the edges of the beard, nor lacerate the body. To their God they shall be sacred, and not profane his name, since they offer up the oblations of the Lord, the foot of their God, they must be holy. A priest shall not marry a woman who has been a prostitute or has lost her honor, nor a woman who has been divorced by her husband, for the priest is sacred to his God. Honor him as sacred who offers up the foot of your God. Treat him as sacred, because I, the Lord, who have consecrated him, am sacred. A priest's daughter who loses her honor by committing fornication and thereby dishonors her father also shall be burned to death. The most exalted of the priests, upon whose head the anointing oil has been poured, and who has been ordained to wear the special vestments, shall not bare his head or rend his garments. Nor shall he go near any dead person, nor even for his father or mother may he thus become unclean, or live at the sanctuary. Otherwise he will profane the sanctuary of his God, for with the anointing oil upon him he is dedicated to his God, to me, the Lord. The priest shall marry a virgin, not a widow or a woman who has been divorced, or a woman who has lost her honor as a prostitute, but a virgin taken from his own people shall be married. Otherwise he will have a base offspring among his people. I, the Lord, have made him sacred. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and tell him, none of your descendants of whatever generation who has any defect shall come forward to offer up the foot of his God. Therefore, he who has any of the following defects may not come forward: he who is blind or lame, or who has any disfigurement or malformation, or a crippled foot or hand, or who is humpbacked or weakly or valid, or who is afflicted with eczema, ringworm, or hernia. No descendant of Aaron the priest who has any such defect may draw near to offer up the oblations of the Lord. On account of his defect he may not draw near to offer up the foot of his God. He may, however, partake of the foot of his God, of what is most sacred as well as of what is sacred. Only he may not approach the veil nor go up to the altar on account of his defect. He shall not profane these things that are sacred to me, for it is I, the Lord, who make them sacred. Moses therefore told this to Aaron and his sons and to all the Israelites. The Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron and his sons to respect the sacred offerings which the Israelites consecrate to me, else they will profane my holy name. I am the Lord. Tell them, if any one of you or of your descendants in any future generation dares, while he is in a state of uncleanness, to draw near the sacred offerings which the Israelites consecrate to the Lord, such a one shall be cut off from my presence. I am the Lord. No descendant of Aaron who is stricken with leprosy or who suffers from a flow may eat of these sacred offerings unless he again becomes clean. Moreover, if anyone touches a person who has become unclean by contact with a corpse, or if anyone has had an emission of seed, or if anyone touches any swarming creature or any man whose uncleanness of whatever kind it may be is contagious, the one who touches such as this shall be unclean until evening, and may not eat of the sacred portions until he has first bathed his body in water. Then When the sun sets, he again becomes clean. Only then may he eat of the sacred offerings which are his food. He shall not make himself unclean by eating of any animal that has died of itself or has been killed by wild beasts. I am the Lord. They shall keep my charge and not do wrong in this matter, else they will die for their profanation. I am the Lord who have consecrated them. Neither a lay person nor a priest's tenant or hired servant may eat of any sacred offering, but a slave whom a priest acquires by purchase or who is born in his house may eat of his food. A priest's daughter who is married to a layman may not eat of the sacred contributions. But if a priest's daughter is widowed or divorced and having no children returns to her father's house, she may then eat of her father's food and in her youth. No layman, however, may eat of it. If such a one eats of a sacred offering through inadvertence, he shall make restitution to the priest for the sacred offering with an increment of 1/5 of the amount. The sacred offerings which the Israelites contribute to the Lord, the priest shall not allow to be profaned, nor in the eating of the sacred offering shall they bring down guilt that must be punished. It is I, the Lord, who make them sacred. The Lord said to Moses, Speak to Aaron and his sons and to all the Israelites and tell them, when anyone of the house of Israel or any alien residing in Israel who wishes to offer a sacrifice brings a holocaust as a votive offering or as a freewill offering to the Lord. If it is to be acceptable, the ox or sheep or goat that he offers must be an unblemished male. You shall not offer one that has any defect, for such a one would not be acceptable for you. When anyone presents a peace offering to the Lord from the herd or the flock in fulfillment of a vow or as a free will offering, if it is to find acceptance, it must be unblemished, it shall not have any defect. One that is blind or crippled or maimed, or one that has a running sore or mange or a ringworm, you shall not offer to the Lord. Do not put such an animal on the altar as an oblation to the Lord. An ox or a sheep that is in any way ill-proportioned or stunted you may indeed present as a free will offering, but it will not be acceptable as a votive offering. One that has its testicles bruised or crushed or torn out or cut off, you shall not offer to the Lord. You shall neither do this in your own land nor receive from a foreigner any such animals to offer up as the food of your God. Since they are deformed or defective, they will not be acceptable for you. The Lord said to Moses, When an ox or a lamb or a goat is born, it shall remain with its mother for 7 days. Only from the 8th day onward will it be acceptable to be offered as an oblation to the Lord. You shall not slaughter an ox or a sheep or one and the same day with its young. Whenever you offer a thanksgiving sacrifice to the Lord, so offer it that it may be acceptable for you. It must therefore be eaten on the same day. None of it shall be left over until the next day. I am the Lord. Be careful to observe the commandments which I, the Lord, give you, and do not profane my holy name. In the midst of the Israelites, I, the Lord, must be held as sacred. It is I who made you sacred and led you out of the land of Egypt, that I, the Lord, might be your God. The Lord said to Moses, Speak out to the Israelites and tell them, The following are the festivals of the Lord, my feast days, which you shall celebrate with a sacred assembly. For 6 days work may be done, but the 7th day it is the Sabbath rest, a day for sacred assembly on which you shall do not work. The Sabbath shall belong to the Lord wherever you dwell. These then are the festivals of the Lord which you shall celebrate at their proper time with a sacred assembly. The Passover of the Lord falls on the 14th day of the first month at the evening twilight. The 15th day of this month is the Lord's feast of unleavened bread. For 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first of these days you shall hold a sacred assembly and do no sort of work. On each of the 7 days you shall offer an oblation to the Lord. Then on the 7th day you shall again hold a sacred assembly and do no sort of work. The Lord said to Moses, Speak to the Israelites and tell them, when you come into the land which I am giving you and reap your harvest, you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest to the priest, who shall wave the sheaf before the Lord, that it may be acceptable for you. On the day after the Sabbath, the priest shall do this. On this day, when your sheaf is waved, you shall offer to the Lord for a holocaust an unblemished yearling lamb. Its cereal offering shall be 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, as a sweet-smelling oblation to the Lord, and its libation shall be 1/4 of a hin of wine. Until this day, when you bring God this offering, you shall not eat any bread or roasted grain or fresh kernels. This shall be a perpetual statute for you and your descendants wherever you dwell. Beginning with the day after the Sabbath, the day on which you bring the wave offering sheaf, you shall count 7 full weeks. And then on the day after the 7th week, the 50th day, you shall present the new cereal offering to the Lord. For the wave offering of your first fruits to the Lord, you shall bring with you wherever you live 2 loaves of bread made of 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour and baked with leaven. Besides the bread, you shall offer to the Lord a holocaust of 7 unblemished yearling lambs, 1 young bull and 2 rams, along with their cereal offering and libations as a sweet-smelling oblation to the Lord. 1 male goat shall be sacrificed as a sin offering, and 2 yearling lambs as a peace offering. The priest shall wave the bread of the first fruits and the 2 lambs as a wave offering before the Lord. This shall be sacred to the Lord and belong to the priest. On the same day you shall by proclamation have a sacred assembly, and no sort of work may be done. This shall be a perpetual statute for you and your descendants wherever you dwell. When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not be so tough that you reap the field to its very edge, nor shall you glean the stray ears of your grain. These things you shall leave for the poor and the alien. I, the Lord, am your God. The Lord said to Moses, Tell the Israelites, on the first day of the 7th month you shall keep a Sabbath rest with a sacred assembly and with the trumpet blasts as a reminder. You shall then do no sort of work, and you shall offer an oblation to the Lord. The Lord said to Moses, The 10th of this 7th month is the day of atonement, when you shall hold a sacred assembly and mortify yourselves and offer an oblation to the Lord. On this day you shall not do any work, because it is the day of atonement, when atonement is made for you before the Lord your God. Anyone who does not mortify himself on this day shall be cut off from his people, and if anyone does any work on this day, I will remove him from the midst of his people. This is a perpetual statute for you and your descendants wherever you dwell. You shall do no work, but shall keep a Sabbath of complete rest and mortify yourselves. Beginning on the evening of the 9th of the month, you shall keep this Sabbath of yours from evening to evening. The Lord said to Moses, Tell the Israelites, the 15th day of this 7th month is the Lord's feast of booths, which shall continue for 7 days. On the first day there shall be a sacred assembly, and you shall do no sort of work. For 7 days you shall offer an oblation to the Lord, and on the 8th a day you shall again hold a sacred assembly and offer an oblation to the Lord. On the solemn closing you shall do no sort of work. These therefore are the festivals of the Lord, on which you shall proclaim a sacred assembly and offer as an oblation to the Lord holocausts and cereal offerings, sacrifices and libations, and as prescribed for each day, in addition to those of the Lord's Sabbath, your donations, your various votive offerings, and the freewill offerings that you present to the Lord. On the 15th day, then, of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the produce of the land, you shall celebrate a pilgrim feast of the Lord for a whole week. The first and the 8th day shall be days of complete rest. On the first day you shall gather foliage from majestic trees, branches of palms, and broad of myrtles and of valley poplars, and then for a week you shall make merry before the Lord your God. By perpetual statute for you and your descendants, you shall keep this pilgrim feast of the Lord for one whole week in the 7th month of the year. During this week, every native Israelite among you shall dwell in booths, that your descendants may realize that when I led the Israelites out of the land of Egypt, I made them dwell in booths. I, the Lord, am your God. Thus did Moses announce to the Israelites the festivals of the Lord.